Hey, what's going on YouTube? This is Bryce with BIce Media, and today we are taking a look at the Panasonic UB154, and this is a Blu-ray 4K player, and we're going to be looking at all of the settings, but right now we're going to be looking at the initial setup. I actually just plugged this in, so this is all brand new to me as well. I have no idea exactly what to expect. I have a feeling it's going to be pretty similar to the UB420, UB820, and the UB9000. But I know also this is a budget 4K player, so it might be a little bit different. Let's go ahead and check it out. All right, so first it's going to ask us the language. So it's either going to be English or Spanish only, at least for region A. English for me. It's going to ask if you want voice guidance setting. I'm going to have mine off. Okay. And the 4K 60p output. Press OK to start the connection check with your 4K TV. Do not operate this unit during the connection check. So we'll go ahead and start that up. It's just making sure that your TV is compatible with that. If you can see the screen, select yes. Otherwise, do nothing. Yes, we can see it. And then you could do a quick start. When you do this, it's saying it will slightly increase power consumption while the unit is off. So basically, if you do quick start, if you basically press that power button, it instantly boots up. Even if you don't have quick start on, the other players at least, it was still pretty fast. Unless you just need it absolutely on as soon as you press the button, then you can do that. I don't really think it's necessary, so I'm going to do mine off. Easy setting completed. And then you can go ahead and do the network. So if you want to do the network and have access to the internet, this is when you could do the Blu-ray Disc Live features, latest firmware updates. I've honestly never used a Blu-ray Disc Live version of any of the movies I've ever owned. I just like to watch the movie. I don't really like the commentary and all that other stuff. I know some people are really crazy about those settings, so you definitely would want that on. For the sake of this video, and so you don't have to see me skip to the network settings, we're just going to click no. So we are here at the home menu. So the home menu is definitely very close in resemblance to the UB820, UB420, UB9000. It's basically the same exact thing. I think just the icons are a little closer together maybe. The background is still the exact same. So now that we're on the home menu, let's go ahead and go into the settings. That's going to be a big deal, of course, as well, because everyone always wants to know, what are the settings? How do I need to set this up? Do I need to start researching all this stuff? Honestly, the Panasonic is pretty easy to operate, and I think this one will be even easier than the UB420, 820, 9000, just because this is the budget model, so it's not going to have all those extra bells and whistles on there. Let's get into it. So whenever you click the setup button, you have three different things. You have the player settings, the wallpaper, and the USB management. Wallpaper just has 5 different options that you can do. You can do just the black that's on there now, blue, gold, or white, or you can actually select your own photo, and this is when you would actually plug in a USB device. You can do that if you'd like. I actually have a video on that. I'll link that in the top right corner for you guys if you'd like to check that out. And that would be that USB management. So that's when it would see if there is a USB device detected. Of course, there's not, just because just showing you guys what that does. All right, guys, now that we've pressed the player settings button and we are now looking at all the player settings themselves, the very top of the menu is the video options. So let's go and take a look. Automatically, you'll see that the resolution is set to auto. Usually, I would just leave it at auto, but if you have a TV that does not do 4K or is not selecting the correct resolution for your TV, you can go ahead and change it here. Down below, we have the 4K 60p output, which is in 420, or you can go ahead and change it to 444, or you can switch it off. I know a lot of people like the 444. They swear by it. They say this is the resolution you have to have it at. This is the output you should have it at. This is the color scheme that you should have. Honestly, it's always up to your preference. Do whatever you think is best whenever it comes to this. Whatever you like, there's no right or wrong answer, honestly, because it's really up to your discretion. The 24p output, this is going to be set to auto. You can turn it off. It just really depends on what's being played. I believe this is referring to like DVDs or maybe even like home video or something like that. It's going to be some of those low frame rate type of videos that you'll be watching on this player. Down below is the HDR10 Plus setting. It's automatically set to on as long as your TV can handle it. or you can switch it off if you just do not like the HDR. There's actually a lot of people out there that say they like 4Ks, but they don't like the HDR, or they just prefer Blu-ray. So I'm like, hey, whatever you like. I personally love HDR. This cannot handle Dolby Vision, unfortunately, which is my favorite format. HDR 10 Plus is also very nice as well. Down below, we have advanced settings. So we have color mode. Mine is set to YCBCR, but you can do RGB standard, RGB enhanced. Again, this comes down to your TV and your equipment and what it can handle. Deep color output is set to auto 12-bit priority. This is really just dependent on your TV. It's just what's saying down below. The setting is for deep color supported TV. If your TV can't handle 4K, or it doesn't have certain HDR formats, or it's very limited just in what it can handle in general, then you might have to go down to auto 10-bit priority or completely off. HDR color gamut output. Mine is set to HDR BT 2020 auto, but you can also do standard definition BT 2020, or you can do standard definition B2709, and that's just coming down to the color gamut and the dynamic range. And if you can handle that, again, that really just comes down to your setup and what it can handle there. 25p, 50p output is set to off, but you can set this to auto, and this pertains to 4K HD Blu-rays and also Blu-ray disc, and how their output, you can actually have it where it goes down to that frame rate if you want to, because again, it comes down to your preference and what you like. You may not like 60p output, you might want it down lower, and if you like that, that's perfectly fine. You can do that way as well. The contents type flag, this is set to auto. I believe this is showing like in the top right corner what kind of format is playing, if it's Blu-ray, if it's 4K, if it's DVD, if it's HDR detected, and so forth. It'll show up in the top right corner. If you set that off, I believe it does not show that, and that's what that should be there. And so now we're going to switch down to audio. There's not a lot of audio settings here. Dynamic range compression, you can turn this on, off, for auto, and this just makes where you can listen at low volumes but still hear dialogue clearly, which is really nice. I usually listen and watch movies either early in the morning or super late at night when everyone's asleep, because we have a toddler, and I can't usually turn up my surround sound, so it's pretty nice to be able to listen to things at low volume but still be able to hear it clearly, and maybe even have a little bit of rumble from the subwoofers if I can. Down below is the digital audio output. And so this is going to come down to what your speakers are hooked up to, or if you even have home theater speakers. So if you have a receiver and you have a surround sound hooked up to it, you can, of course, you can do bitstream, or you can go in here and do PCM, DSD output mode. You can turn this off or on, and that just comes down to the different formats that you're going to be playing. And same with the BD video secondary audio. You can click on this one, you can do auto on or off. So whenever auto is selected, audio is then output prioritizing the original audio when this unit is connected to an HDMI device compatible with Dolby Audio, DD+, DD, DTHD, or DTS-HD. And this is also a topic of discussion as well, because if you have audio delay with your player, you can actually turn this on, and it usually helps with that. But then it also, from what I've been told, I haven't turned this on myself, but I have heard people talk about it doesn't allow you to do DTS:X or Dolby Atmos. So just be kind of wary of that if you do have to turn that on, because there is any kind of speech delay whenever characters are talking and it's not matching their mouth. You can try that, but then it also might mess with the audio preferences that you like as well. Down below we have down mix. This is going to pertain to listening to music, so you can have just stereo, or you can make it where it's surround encoded, so it'll kind of mix it basically, and it'll make it where it plays from all the speakers. But you can also do this just within your receiver if you're playing your player through your receiver, and you can automatically do that by switching the different settings, and it'll do a faux surround sound setting for you as well. DTS Neo 6, so you can turn off cinema or music. So 2-channel sound is expanded and output is a multi-channel. I have a full surround sound, so I don't know exactly how this sounds, and I'd have to unhook all my stuff, so I'm not going to test that just for this one specific setting. But it is a pretty neat thing that you could do, especially if you only have a sound bar, or maybe just 2 bookshelf speakers possibly, or just 2 tower speakers. So this would be a great way to test out that cinema or music mode and see what those sound like. Then we have the voice guidance setting. So if you're not able to see as well and you need voice guidance setting, or you're not be able to see maybe even your remote, this would be very helpful. You can turn that off or on, and that was also on that initial setup, or you can turn that off and on as well. So that is all the audio setting, and there is the 3D setting. So there is still Blu-ray 3D capability with this player, which is absolutely great. Since this is a budget player, it's great that you're able to still play 3D Blu-rays. Unfortunately, you can't find too many of them unless you buy them and import them from the UK. Usually, that's the only place that I see that actually makes those. So on the 3D BD video playback, you can do auto or set before play. When set before play is selected, you can choose 3D playback or 2D playback before playing 3D disc, which is pretty nice. And obviously, if you put in usually a 3D disc from what I've seen in the past, and you throw it into a player and you have a TV that's not compatible with 3D, it's just going to play the 2D version anyways, which is nice. And then you have 3D AVC HD output. So it's an original or 2D. If 3D AVC HD video is not properly displayed, please select 2D. So this is basically just trying to make sure that it's actually displaying that 3D correctly. And then 3D playback precautions, as it's basically saying, I'm not sure what those precautions say because I don't have a 3D TV anymore. Haven't had one for a very long time. But I think it's just saying that it could cause like eye strain, something like that. So you can set that on or off if you'd like to. All right, down below is the ABC language. So audio language, mine is set to English because I'm in region A. So you could do English, Spanish, original, or other. Subtitle language is auto, English, Spanish, other. Usually this is really going to come down to the disc too, because each disc usually will have different subtitle languages that you can choose from. But you can also set it up from the player. Not sure really what the difference is between the players and the disc itself. Maybe this just kind of helps pre-select it for you. The menu language set to English, of course, for myself, because you can do Spanish or other. On-screen language, of course, is also English. We chose that in the initial setup, or you can do Spanish. And then closed caption, you do have a few different options that you can do with this. So you can do closed caption display on or off. Closed caption type, you can kind of choose what it looks like if you choose it to on. Let's see if we can get that up. So we'll say on. Let's see here. See if I do a manual setting. Yeah, okay. So you can do font color, font size, font style, font opacity, all those different settings. It just makes it a little bit easier for you to see because, again, everyone has different preferences and some colors are make it maybe a little easier for you to read things. And so that's a great way for you to customize things. And that's a great thing that Panasonic has within their player. All right. And then we're going to move on to network. So this just kind of ties in to the initial setup, easy network settings. So this is when you can check for all of those different settings here. So on this player, it looks like you actually have to have a LAN cable. So I did not know that since we just skipped that step initially. So you actually cannot do Wi-Fi, it looks like. So that's kind of a bummer in that case. But again, this is a budget 4K player, again, like we've talked about. So they're trying to kind of cut corners to save you some money and just make sure you can actually play the disc that you thoroughly enjoy. Network settings, you can choose to display your IP address, DNS settings, proxy server settings. We're not going to look too much at that because we're not connected to the internet anyways. But those are just all those different things there, and it shows your MAC address for your player and everything as well. Legal notices, you can click on that if you want to, but it's just going to have all of those different notices that's going to show up here. Terms and conditions of use, privacy policy, all that mumbo jumbo that no one ever reads. And then ratings here. So if you have a young kid at home, or you just want to make sure that maybe even yourself, you want to limit what you're watching, you can have DVD video ratings. And you can have that where it's either level 8, aka no limit, lock all, have different numbers there, 1 through 8 if you'd like to do that. There's also the BD video ratings. There's also no limit. And then you can also put in years and add all those different things in there as well, if you'd like to. And then last but not least, we have the system. So we have easy settings, where it's English or Spanish. Display settings. So there's a screensaver function if you'd like a screensaver to show up after so much time. Status messages, you can have auto or off whenever you want to show if it's playing, pause, any of those things on the screen there. HDMI CEC. Set to use HDMI CEC function when connected with an HDMI cable to a device that supports HDMI CEC. So it just makes it where you can usually use a remote, a different remote to actually control your player, I believe is what that's meaning, if I remember off the top of my head, which is really nice because I lost a remote to one of my other Blu-ray players, and I was like, ah, crap, I can't use it. And then I ended up being able to just use my TV remote, which is very nice. Quick start, you can turn off or on. We talked about that in the initial setup. It just uses a little bit more power and it boots up a little faster. I don't really think it's worth it for the power consumption because, again, this player turns on pretty fast no matter what. Firmware update, you can check for firmware updates if you'd like to. System information just tells you the license and firmware version information if you want to read all that. Or you can reset it to restore default settings if you have any kind of issues where things are not connecting correctly. Or maybe you're switching this out for maybe the Panasonic UB420 or 820 and you're going to sell it or return it, and you can click that restore default settings there. Alright guys, that brings us to the very end of this video. So we have now officially taken a look at all of the different settings for this player. Is very, very similar to the UB420, 820, and the UB9000, except those different settings are a little bit dumbed down, but it's basically the same concept overall. So if you guys would like to check out that video, or maybe you're looking at one of those players, we'll have all the links in the description for you guys to check out at your convenience. So let me know in the comments if this was helpful for you guys. Leave me a like if this was helpful, and make sure to hit that subscribe button, as I will also be reviewing this player in the near future, and I will also have that link in the description for you guys to check out as well. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.